All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the broadcast. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Today is Wednesday, June 27th, 2018. And, yes, I am. I'm back here with you. I'm back here with you for at least today for the show. We'll talk all about that and what's going on here. But, yeah, I'm back here, and I got a broadcast for you today. I got a lot to talk about, got a lot to get into, so I'm going to move fast and get into all what I can get into because I'm well, I can't really do that much. That's why I haven't been on air. I've had my health issues return this month, and I've been spending the entire month fighting through that, and while at the same time working furiously on the Spellcasters Volume 2. And yesterday was the first day that I was feeling any kind of better all month, since the first of the month. And but I didn't want to push it yesterday, you know, it was the first day. But then today I felt better, so I thought I would try to today. But I'm still having some issues with Bell's palsy and teeth issues. So my speaking ability, especially in terms of talking on a radio show and stuff like that, it's very difficult right now. And kind of makes your teeth clatter together, and it's rough. So if I'm talking lispy, or if here you can hear I'm talking kind of lispy, that's I haven't gone gay or anything, or effeminate. I have the fucking Bell's palsy stuff. My side of my face is not as bad as it was last time, but and then combined with my dental issues, I need like $1,500 worth of dental work done, all this stuff. I get people sending me messages, and it's hard to explain this stuff to people because it's not. That's why I always thought there's something weird about what I've got, because there's none of the normal, reasonable medical explanations for this apply here. It's hard to explain that to people, because I don't have time to say. I mean, I don't have time to respond to any emails right now. Honestly, I'm like 3 or 4, almost a month behind on emails. If you emailed me in the past month, I have emailed you back. I will get back to you. Don't worry. I get 150 emails a day from people, and I get behind very quickly. But it's just difficult to explain this because I've had this dental issue for a while. I had a broken tooth a couple of years ago. I haven't been able to get removed, but it's in my top right-hand side. And then next to that one, I started having problems with another tooth right next to that one. In combination, like the Bell's palsy would come on, and the toothache would go away. Then the toothache would go away, and the Bell's palsy would come on again. And this tooth feels like it's going to fall out, even though doesn't have a cavity in it or anything. It's bizarre. It's not infected. I don't have an infected tooth. I know people are like, oh, you can't let a tooth get infected. Well, duh, no shit, Sherlock. I fucking know that. I don't have any infections in my teeth. That's what you don't understand. None of the normal medical or dental things that you can think of about what would apply, like from somebody having a toothache or whatever else, it doesn't apply to this. This is something fucking else weird. That's what I'm telling you. There's something else that's. But like I said, I've been to the doctors, and you know they don't seem to think there's anything abnormal about it, other than the Bell's palsy thing, which they don't give you and can't even prescribe you anything for. They don't honestly know what causes it, and that's how we know it's. If they can't say what causes it, it's because they know it's a part of some, bioweapon thing like Lyme disease or any of these other things. So, yeah, it's impaired my ability to speak properly, and after I do talk for a while, it starts to get weird. Sometimes I'll try to just talk normal sentences, and spit starts flying out the right hand side of my mouth like I'm a fucking retard or something. It sucks, man, I tell you. It's no fun, and it's definitely no fun when you're trying to do voiceovers and trying to, get a film out and stuff. My goal has been to get out Spellcasters 2 by sometime the second week of July, somewhere in there. Don't know an exact date yet. Could be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I don't know, somewhere in there. Because the thing is, once it's done, what a lot of people don't get is once you're done with the film, you still got at least 48 to 72 hours, 2-3 days at least before it can be uploaded or anything like that. Because what a lot of people don't know is whenever filmmakers make a film and they're done, they send them off to what they call encoding houses. And the encoding houses take the finished product and they encode it into usable, smaller, you have a much larger master file when you're done. Then they take the larger master file and they encode it down into smaller files that can then be used, Well, I do all that in-house. I don't send my shit off to have it done. I have the software and everything done in-house. So once a film is done, it can take up to 2 or 3 days for that kind of stuff to finish. You've got to test it. You got to encode it in different encoding rates and at different qualities, and then you have to take all those different qualities and test them on different screens. So, for instance, I'll test it on an iPhone, I'll test it on a laptop, and I'll test it on a 55-inch 4K TV, a regular TV. Same thing like when you're recording music and stuff. I learned this after my first time or two in the studio back in the early 90s when I was a youngster. You go to, recording studios, man, they'll smoke and mirrors your ass to death because you go in these studios and record and you're hearing the playback on these fucking giant studio monitors where everything sounds great through them. Then you get your tape, or what, back then it was tape, then CDs later, but you get your shit and go home and listen to it and it sound like 2-inch dog shit. So that's when after a couple times that happened to me, I wouldn't leave the recording studio. I would make the guy mix me a tape right then, or later a CD right then. I would take it in my car, the drummer's car, the bass player's car, and listen to it on different systems, and then you know what to tweak. So, and I still do that. If you're ever recording music, keep that in mind. You're recording at home, always go test it in a car first. If it sounds great in a car, it's going to sound great in anything you put it into. That's the rule. So that's what you have to do when you're making a film like this. And I don't know, everybody might not have seen my most recent post I put on our Global Reality Facebook page. If you didn't, I'll go ahead and announce this here. Due to the sheer amount of information that I have put together, there's no way I can make the Spellcasters Volume 2 a single double film as I was going to do it. It was going to be a double film, basically. There's no way I can do that. I thought it's just unrealistic, and it's silly, and it's not real. That's what reason it's taken so long. I've been trying to make a 7 or 8 hour single movie. So I've, over the course of this month, accepted defeat on that. So here's what will happen. I will be coming out with Spellcasters Volume 2. I've lost about a week and a half of work, because of all my health issues and stuff that I've had this month. And, but I've still been battling through it and working every single fucking day for 14 hours a day on this thing. But what I'm going to do is Volume 2 will be released sometime around the second week of July. And then I will be releasing the Spellcasters Volume 3. I had not planned on making a Volume 3. Now, this will be a 3-film collection. Actually, 4 if you count 1.5. So Volume 2 will come out sometime in the second week of July, and then 2 to 3 weeks after that, Either by the end of July or the 1st of August, you will get Volume 3. So Volume 3 is where a lot of the stuff with the fall stuff and the stuff I'm revealing in that I've talked about, that's where that information will be. So you have to wait for Volume 3 to get that. Volume 2 is going to cover a ton of shit and a ton of unbelievable new information, new connections, people nobody's ever put together yet. The stuff that I've uncovered and connected this to, it's just been unbelievable. It's completely insane. It's opened my eyes to things that I wasn't aware of. It's connected dots to things that I thought were bullshit. That's the other crazy thing about this. When after Chris Cornell died, it's been unbelievable how many people have fucking died that have been subject matter of this film, that have died while I've been fucking making it, man. That's another reason I gotta get this fucking thing. How many fucking more people? I'll tell you this. I'm going to make this prediction now because I guarantee it's going to happen. There are going to be, I guarantee you, I'm going to mark it right now. I want y'all to remember I said it. Because there's already been people that tie into all this dying since I've been working on the movie. I predict there are going to be some people that you're going to see exposed in this film series in Volume 2 and Volume 3 of the Spellcasters that are going to, you can't see me doing this because I'm not on video, but you know the whole air quotes thing, right? 2 fingers up in the air. I think we're going to see some of the people I expose in this film, quote, die. You know what I mean by that? Either suicided or, fake death or whatever. I think we're going to see some more of that once this film comes out. I think some of these people in this are going to get exposed and they're going to fake their own deaths, or I don't know. We'll see. But, when we had the death of Chris Cornell, which was just completely shady all over the place, and I did a video about it, it was got a lot of views. And then shortly after that, the Chester Bennington thing, there was all kinds of reports and all kinds of people making statements saying that they were getting ready to expose this pedophile ring thing. And I at the time, I didn't believe it and thought it was all bullshit and the rest of it. But with what I've uncovered here in the Spellcasters Volume 2, inadvertently, the information I've uncovered just completely by accident has lend a lot of credence towards that to the point where I believe it now too. It's crazy. I've uncovered this generational MK Ultra program where individuals are programmed, then they can program another individual. They're not even knowing they're doing it, really. And then that person, it's like a virus. And this all goes back to the original MK Ultra stuff when it first became MK Ultra in 1954. It ties in with the Grateful Dead, Courtney Love, Nirvana, Paul McCartney, the death of Randy Rhoads. All the stuff I'm covering in this film and all the 90s stars. It's unbelievable, folks. You are not going to believe this. So many of these people were victims themselves. I'll tell you one of the craziest things I've walked away with from this film. You're not going to believe this. The research and the information I've uncovered for this film, folks, has changed my perspective on all this stuff to the point where it's just unbelievable. Here's one for you. A lot of this stuff I'm exposing is exposing, Kurt Cobain and his death and mind control and MK Ultra and all this stuff, and of course exposing Courtney Love's connections. But you know what? I no longer have hatred towards Courtney Love or even Alex Jones or any of these people anymore. I have no hatred towards them at all. I used to hate them. I have no hatred towards them anymore, folks. After this work, I feel sorry for them. honest to God, I feel sorry for them. And you will too when you see the information of them. These people didn't have a chance. Courtney Love got brought into this stuff when she was 4 years old, dude. And she's connected to all this stuff going on too. All this fucking, and yeah, people were asking me about Anthony Bourdain. Yes, I think he had something to do with all this too, and knew something about all this too. It's crazy. I mean, a lot of these people, I was coming from this standpoint so long of exposing these people and their involvement, and I am, and I've not stopped doing that. But it's just these people are just patsies after patsy, and the real people that are doing it are just going on, you know. Courtney Love, I mean, yes, clearly she's always been the number one, you know, the number one suspect in the death of Kurt, and all the information points in that direction. But what I've uncovered is so much bigger than that. And that she was really the patsy for this much larger operation that's been going on. And Kurt himself being an MK Ultra victim and being under mind control as well. And then breaking out of it. Breaking out of it shortly before his death. And right as he's, you know, breaking out of it and coming out of it and realizing what's going on and realizing how he's been controlled, and he's like, fuck this, you know, I'm out. And of course, before he could do that, they offed him. Alex Jones too. Alex Jones is part of this generational. You know, he's even, everybody is a patsy. Everybody who you think is the head of the Hydra is just a patsy for somebody else who's going to go unnamed and go unchecked in all of this. It's unbelievable, the layers. I wasn't prepared for this. I really wasn't. This shit is so bigger than me and so much bigger than I feel like I can do in one lifetime or do in these two films. I'm going to do my best, man. I think these films are going to be amazing. I think you're going to be blown away, but I still don't think I feel like I'm going to be able to do the proper justice that needs to be done here because it's so big and it's so unbelievable, folks. How many decades this stuff stretches and how stuff that looks seemingly unconnected that happened 20, 30, 40 years ago is just as connected to the stuff that's in the news right now and happening. It's insane. They have literally for decades there are so many. I've now identified so many people who are victims of this MK Ultra, of this programming, what I've sort of called the virus programming, where one program person is another, and they program another person, then they program somebody else, and they don't even know they're programming someone. That person doesn't even know they're being programmed, and on and on and on. There are so many of these out there, folks. It would be impossible to name them all in any amount of movies. We're talking Hollywood, the music industry, everywhere. They have been generating millions upon millions of these people through generations, and so many of them have ended up being these top people in the music and entertainment world. I mean, Courtney Love, folks, she was out on the road with bands at 5 and 6 years old. Okay? She was being used she was a mind-controlled sex slave at 4 or 5 years old. They've programmed her. She's programmed other people. On and on and on. And she's still involved in this stuff. She's got the fucking you know the expression that person knows where the bodies are buried. She knows where every single body is buried, and she knows every single person's kinks, and that's how she's gotten her power. Is by exploiting people's, whatever they're into. But all this stuff is connected. The Finders cult stuff, the so-called stuff with, people talked about with the so-called Pizzagate stuff and whatever. All this stuff is interconnected. It's insanity. And then I find out that Courtney was on, because, on those private jet logs and stuff. Remember all that stuff came out about, what was that dude's name? Jeffrey Epstein. Guess who else was on? Who was on Jeffrey Epstein's plane, right? Obama, Trump, Bill Clinton, Courtney Love. Oh, you didn't know that? Oh, yeah. She's been a high-price escort, folks, for many years. Now, she'll just say, oh, this is when I was stripping. But then you listen to her MK Ultra dad stuff and say, no, she was, flying to Japan with the Yakuza and stuff. She's been a high price, one of these, part of this sex slave cult thing since she was a little kid. And she's on Jeffrey Epstein's plane. And she's in his little black book. And she's circled and connected to this other guy in Epstein's black book. You go look up his name. I forget his name, but you go look up his name, who it's circled and connected to, then you find out he was one of Courtney Love's boyfriends too, and he was on heroin. Now he's dead now too. I mean, the trail of bodies around this woman, folks, you wouldn't even believe. And you wouldn't believe how many of the whole fucking 90s thing happened. That whole explosion happened because of her and her setting up all these. It's just, it's incredible. And it sounds so unbelievable, your average person would not believe it, and that's exactly how they've gotten away with it. Whew, man. And, got dealt another blow over the weekend. And, like I said, man, how many more people are going to die before I get this fucking movie out? And then I have to hear Saturday night about the death of Vinnie Paul from Pantera. I don't have to tell you, man. I've got I'm going to have to fucking rewrite it now. But, I had a part in the movie, about Pantera and about the death of Dimebag Darrell. And I mean, that... So when I heard the news about Vinnie, I just about fucking sank. But, I was like, well, they finally got him. They finally got him. 14 years. He was supposed to die then, and he didn't, but, man. I'm still emotional about it. I got to be honest with you. It's just, I can't explain to you how much of a mind fuck it is for me to be working on this shit. And put as much work and as much effort to this film and stuff as I have. And to have connected all this stuff and to be sitting here being floored by these new revelations and then have somebody else die connected to this. But But yeah, Pantera, I mean, they were, I mean, that's Dallas pride, baby. That's, you know, they're our hometown heroes. God, you know, we've never been lucky enough to have too many true rock stars and true people that are true musical greats from Dallas. And, you know, Dallas always gets shoved in the side, and we always get, you know, everybody talks about Austin. Austin's the music capital and this, and everybody ignores Dallas. But you know what? How many of the true greats came from Austin? They try to claim Stevie Ray Vaughan all day and have the fucking statue of him shit down. Stevie Ray Vaughan didn't come from Austin, motherfuckers. He came from fucking Dallas, Texas, from Oak Cliff. Okay? That's a fact. They can try to claim, well, he's Pantera from right here in Dallas. I mean, Pantera, the only fucking metal band brutal enough to not only survive in the 1990s, but to thrive and be bigger than anybody else. And there were a lot of vested interests that wanted those guys dead. And so many calling cards for that shooting that happened back in 2004. A clear case of mind control and an MK Ultra assassin, I mean, there probably hasn't ever been. But it was going back, even back before that. You got to remember, they were on Atco Records. Atco was a division of Atlantic, Warner Electric Atlantic, one of the biggest music conglomerates in the world. And, you know, Pantera got signed to their major label record deal a year before Nirvana's Nevermind came out. So, right as they were thriving and really starting to become a big band, you have a total sea change in the music industry where this kind of music that's been pushed for a long time is not being pushed. Now, a different style of music is being pushed. It's happened again and again. I mean, it's happened. It's not the first time it's happened. It won't be the last. I mean, you know, you saw the same thing happen throughout all the decades. But the difference with Pantera is that they were, you know, an extreme metal band, and at the time when those bands were being dropped and forced out, and people, you know, they were bigger than anybody else. And then by the time they came out with the Far Beyond Driven album, they knocked Ace of Base and Mariah Carey, I think, and Michael Jackson off the number one spot and had the number one album on Billboard. That will never happen again. You'll never have an album that's as heavy as that be number one on the charts on Billboard. I mean, that was when they started to become real trouble for the intelligentsia of the music industry. They built a massive following in the time when the least fashionable thing around was metal. And they got the number one album in the world, number one on the Billboard charts, dethroning Ace of Base and Mariah Carey, Michael Jackson, all the fucking pop crap of the day. And it scared the hell out of the people of the music industry. And they couldn't figure out what they were going to do. Here they are, they thought they'd gotten rid of that genre of music by, you know, bringing in alternative music and signing only signing alternative bands. It wasn't just that they were promoting alternative music. Now they were only signing the safe bands. You know, you weren't seeing the real hardcore bands who brought to the front, just these safe, easily controllable, you know, dupes. And, yeah, you know, they not only did they do all that, present a threat that way, they also refused to do anything the record label told them to do. The record label would come to the sessions and go, yeah, you need to do this, change that. And they go, yeah, sure, yeah, we'll do it, all right. And they would never do it. And right about the time you start to see I don't know. I haven't been able to put anything together, any hard evidence connecting Phil Anselmo, the singer of Pantera, to any MK Ultra stuff, but the signs are there. All of a sudden, in 95, a year after Cobain's death, all of a sudden, Anselmo's on heroin. The guys in Pantera, they'd never even seen heroin before. And then slowly you start seeing him decline, his abilities decline. And then that eventually leads to the band, after a 2-year hiatus, separating, and then Vinnie and Dimebag going on to create a new band. But guess when Pantera's final tour, what would have been their final tour, they left to go start their final tour in Europe. It wasn't going to be their final tour, but it would have been had it happened, and it was anyway. But it wasn't planned that way. So they fly out to Ireland for the first date, and the first date was September 11, 2001. And they get stuck in Ireland for like 6 days because all the flights, everything were all shut down after 9/11. And then the record label canceled the whole tour. So 9/11 happens, Pantera gets here. That's interesting right there alone, It almost looks like somebody planned it that way when you look at it in retrospect. It wouldn't have seemed that way at the time, but when you look at it in retrospect, you're almost like, damn, it seems like somebody planned it to be that way. Because the record label canceled their tour, and they split up a couple of years later. And then, in 2004, on the 24th anniversary of John Lennon's death, killed by an MK Ultra assassin, tour gets canceled on 9/11. 24th anniversary of John Lennon's death, MK Ultra assassin charges the stage in Ohio. He just shot Dimebag an excessive amount of times. Jesus Christ. There's just no fucking need to shoot somebody in the head 5 fucking times, man. He was looking for Vinnie too. In fact, one of the guys in their crew jumped on Vinnie and got shot himself. He didn't get killed, but he got shot. Took a bullet, was laying on Vinnie. And then some other people got murdered there as well. There's a fan and people just trying to render aid got. It was just insane. Only person to ever be assassinated live on stage. And it happens on the 24th anniversary of John Lennon's death. And then you find out this guy, Nathan Gale, that did it was ex-military, discharged from the Marines, and the Marines would not say why he was discharged, claiming privacy. Yeah. Heard voices. Believed Pantera stole lyrics from him from songs they wrote years before. And then, he gets, of course, executed and killed. He has his head blown up by a shotgun on stage before he can be caught and captured and questioned and deprogrammed and found out. Typical, usual thing. And then we find out his birthday was 9/11/79. And yes, I know, I'm just supposed to think, that's just some big coincidence. Yeah, I know, it's just a coincidence, yeah. It's just a coincidence their tour got canceled on the day of 9/11 because 9/11 happened, and that was their final tour Pantera would ever have done. It's just a coincidence that Nathan Gale shot Dimebag Darrell in the head 5 times on stage in front of a fucking audience on the 24th anniversary of John Lennon's death when he was murdered by an MK Ultra assassin as well. And it's just a coincidence that guy's birthday happened to be 9/11. All that's a coincidence, and I'm just a kook and a conspiracy theorist for pointing it out. Right. Yeah, I can remember hearing stories about Pantera before I was even old enough to go into clubs. I actually saw them in a club before I was old enough to get into a club. My dad took me to see them in like 91. It was probably 91. It was right before, I remember it was before Nevermind came out. It was a club that's not there anymore. It's now a strip club in Dallas. It was called Dallas City Limits. And yeah, I remember going to see them when I was really young. And then they really blew up big after that a couple of years later. And then the whole Nirvana and alternative thing hit. So I went sort of more that direction. But I was always Nirvana. Pantera was kind of like Motorhead when they came out. Because Motorhead was so different than anything else that was out at that time when it came out, that you had people that were into different styles of music that all liked Motorhead. You know what I mean? Like the heavy metal guys, the headbangers and stuff, they were into Motorhead, but punkers and punk rockers also liked Motorhead. And usually that was, the metal guys and the punkers would always fight, but the common ground was always Motorhead, because they never claimed they were a metal band, punk band, anything. They just said we're a rock and roll band. That's it. And that's kind of how Pantera was to me too, because of course I wasn't into any. Well, that's why the whole Nirvana thing and all that whole thing spoke to me and millions of other people at that time who were that right age, that middle teenage years, 14, 15 years old, 16 years old and stuff, is because I all that 80s butt rock shit, that was not my generation. That was not my bag. I never liked that stuff. I never liked fucking the Poisons and the fucking Motley Crue. Motley Crue, I liked, Shout at the Devil and some of that stuff was okay. But I wasn't into like Rat or Cinderella or, all that shit. Because I couldn't relate to that shit, man, as a teenager. That wasn't what was happening. Guys with these fucking spandex and these pointy, ugly guitars and the big hair and these overproduced music. A lot of people tend to chalk up the end of that music to specifically to the band Warrant and their song Cherry Pie and that video. But that wasn't what did it for me. It was the band The Bullet Boys. Ugh. And they had a song called Smooth Up In Ya. And I'll never forget, I heard that shit and I was like 14 or 15. Even then, at 14 or 15, I was like, okay, this music needs to go. This shit needs to die. This is terrible. So, to this day, metalheads and stuff, they still whine and cry and like a bunch of pussies, butthurt pussies about, fucking Nirvana and fucking grunge, it killed our music. No, you killed your fucking music with songs like Smooth Up In Ya. Smooth Up In Ya? Come on. Boy, that's real deep, meaningful stuff there, bud. You might as well just say, I'm putting it in your butt and not beat around the bush about it, it was funny when Gene Simmons was, and Kiss were, in the early 70s or whatever, like a song like Nothing to Lose, I thought about the back door, I didn't know what to say. So baby, please don't refuse. You got nothing to lose. You got nothing to lose. We put it in your butt. But he didn't want to come right out and saying it. But man, when they came out with smooth up in you and all that, just terrible. That shit needed to die. Yeah. But Pantera wasn't that. It was something totally different. It was like, to me, it was the first time you had somebody like taking a singer from a hardcore band and put them in a metal band. That's what they were. And that's what created such a different sound, So even though I wasn't listening to metal and I wasn't into, I still like Black Sabbath and Judas Priest and stuff like that. But like, I was never an Iron Maiden fan though. Everybody always talks about Iron Maiden. Never been an Iron Maiden fan. I'm sorry. Well, I like the first couple albums, the pre-Bruce Dickinson stuff, Paul Di'Anno stuff, Killers. That's some good shit. I can go for the first two Iron Maiden albums, pre-Bruce Dickinson, but Bruce Dickinson's just too theatric, theater fag, OTO. He's just too much of a Crowley cocksucker for me, to be honest with you. I've never been an Iron Maiden fan. Black Sabbath, hell yes. Judas Priest, hell yes. It's, it's hard. What else? I'm trying to think of any other bands. I don't really consider Van Halen and all that. You know what I mean? I don't really consider them one of those. They're more hard rock and came later. But, But, oh, I remember all the rumors going around, though. There was all kinds of rumors going around Dallas, and I was even young, and I heard them back then. There was all kinds of rumors that Phil Anselmo was gay and is gay or bisexual, and that he had a van that they used to go out on tour with him that he would fuck dudes in. Because there was all these rumors going around Dallas. This was before, I can't remember if this was before I think it may have been before they got signed. Well, they tell the story now that they were playing up somewhere in Canada somewhere, and there were like 100 people there. And Rob Halford from Judas Priest showed up and played some songs with them. There's all kinds of stories going on around back, rumors and stuff going around Dallas back then. I was hearing about them when I was 14, 15 years old, that Phil Anselmo and Rob Halford were seen for like a week straight. They were seen all over Dallas at all the gay clubs in Dallas together. And not too long after that, boom, Judas Priest comes out with their Painkiller album, like the heaviest album they'd come out with in years. They announced the Painkiller tour, and then they take Pantera with them out on tour as the opening act, and then Pantera explodes after that. But as soon as I heard about the death of Vinnie Paul the other night, I just hung my head and I just said, they got him. And I'll be honest with you. See, Vinnie and Dimebag always lived here. After Dimebag died, Vinnie kept his house here in Dallas, actually in Arlington, a suburb of Dallas. And then bought another house in Las Vegas because they had a strip club. They have a strip, had, I guess now. It's probably going to close now. Here in Dallas called the Clubhouse that they owned. And then Vinnie later opened up another one in Las Vegas. If he'd have died here in Dallas, I probably wouldn't have thought anything suspicious of it. But when I found out that he died in Las Vegas, ladies and gentlemen, I've talked about the Vegas thing here over and over on the show. Anytime, it's a red flag for me anytime I hear about any of this stuff that I know is already connected to this other stuff that I've exposed. The Las Vegas PD are probably next to the LAPD, they work right in tandem with them, the most corrupt police force in America. They were involved in the whole Tupac thing, the most recent shooting stuff there. I mean, it's a CIA spook stronghold, ladies and gentlemen. Has been for many, many years. Nothing new. They at first said, he died in his sleep or whatever. Vinnie Paul. And I said, yeah, because Vinnie and his brother, they weren't drug users. Yeah, they smoked pot, but they were drinkers, man. Just fucking insane drinkers. So I was like, well, they would not be able to pull off the fentanyl thing with Vinnie Paul, or hell, they still might. We don't know. We haven't got toxicology reports back. They still might try to pull it. If they try to say it was fentanyl or something with Vinnie Paul, I can tell you right now, 100%, that's an absolute lie and bullshit, because the guy did not touch any kind of drugs like that ever. I know for a fact. Then I said, well, they'll probably say it was hard. And then within 24 hours after he died, they said it appeared to be a massive heart attack. That wasn't coming directly from the coroner. How anybody could have known and had any idea that it was a massive heart attack, seems odd. And then, of course, they said it would be weeks before they'd have the results back, even though they've already done the autopsy and everything. They're being hush-hush about it. And then yesterday, this comes out. Out of the Las Vegas Review-Journal, Metro report. Vinnie Paul's death did not appear suspicious. You know what is suspicious? The fact that the corrupt Las Vegas Police Department would feel the need to issue a report saying that Vinnie Paul's death did not appear suspicious. That is what's suspicious. Right? What have I told you about for years? When they start giving you answers to questions you haven't asked yet, it's a red flag. Hey, this was 2 days after he died. Nobody said it was anything suspicious about it. Why does the Las Vegas PD feel the need to come out and offer up to us that nothing about his death seems suspicious? Now, here's what is suspicious. Let me read this article. The death of Vinnie Paul did not appear suspicious, according to the official report by the event recorded by Metropolitan Police officers. According to records of the event, officers were dispatched to a dead body call at 5:41 p.m. Friday on the 6900 block of Procyon Street. Medical personnel were summoned, and Paul was pronounced dead at the scene. Metro spokeswoman Laura Meltzer added that the responding officers did not take such further action as calling homicide detectives to the scene. Further indication that Paul was considered medically deceased. That whole statement's a contradiction. And it preys on people who they just assume the assumption that people don't know how this kind of thing works. I mean, think about that. If someone is medically deceased and they're dead, homicide detectives would still be called to the scene if they believed it was a homicide, regardless of whether the person... They're saying that the people who responded on the scene didn't call homicide detectives because he was medically deceased. Well, that's not a prerequisite. And it's the same exact thing they did in the Kurt Cobain killing and many others. Chris Cornell as well. If they walk in on the scene and it looks like a suicide, everything points to that, they don't bother doing an investigation. So all the normal investigative procedures and evidence gathering that would be done during a homicide investigation does not get conducted because the responding officers feel they have enough information to declare this to be either a natural death, a suicide, or something else. And this is how they get away with murder, folks, and have gotten away with it for years. So, that right there just doesn't make any sense. The Clark County Coroner's Office has since picked up the investigation into the cause and manner of Paul's death. Well, wait a minute. So the coroner's looking into the investigation of the cause and manner of the death, but they did the corrupt Las Vegas PD did not call homicide detectives to the scene. It should be standard practice. If you can't determine on site how a person has been dead, then it is supposed to be considered a possible homicide, and an investigation is supposed to take place, and evidence is supposed to be gathered regardless. If they later determine by the medical examiner's report that it was natural causes, then at that point they can close the investigation and consider it closed and have their cause of death. When they, from the start, do not bring investigators to the scene, folks, even though they don't know the cause of death, you've got a cover-up going on. That's the same thing they've done time and again with these suicides and these assassinations and everything else. They have what they consider to be reasonable evidence of it to be a suicide or natural death at the scene. They don't even bother calling the homicide detective, even though it is protocol. Go ask anybody Anybody in law enforcement that's worked in law enforcement, ask anybody how these investigations work. They will tell you if they can't determine a cause of death on the scene, the investigation will stay open until such time as which they can determine how that person died. And when they determine that, they will then close the investigation. So right there, already, there's shady stuff going on with the death of Vinnie Paul. I mean, the CIA ice dart gun for heart attacks is not a conspiracy theory, folks. This was revealed in fucking congressional testimony in the 1970s. They've had it for years. It's a gun that shoots an ice pellet. It goes into your skin. It can kind of feel like you maybe got a mosquito bite. It's undetectable in autopsy. It melts into your body, into your skin, and then within 24 hours, you die of a massive heart attack that, through any medical examination, toxicology reports, will appear as natural death. They've had this technology for decades, 50 years plus they've had this, folks. It's old tech. And they did it in a town like Las Vegas, where they got the cops on the take, where the cops are used to covering up investigations and murders done by the CIA and making them look like business as usual. And they finally finished the job. They finally got him. And as and of course, who controlled all of Pantera's music? Vinnie Paul. When Dimebag died, his estate was split evenly between Vinnie Paul, Dimebag's brother, and their dad, Jerry Abbott. So who does it go to now? Does it default? I mean, I would assume it probably defaults to Jerry Abbott, their dad. But how's he going to run that stuff at 74 years old? Vinnie was the one keeping the torch alive. He was the one that was doing the reissues and producing. He was a record producer himself. He produced a lot of the Pantera stuff, co-produced a lot of it. They even, a couple of years, his newer band that he came out with, Hell Yeah, which I wasn't really a fan of, to be honest with you. I did think it was cool, though. A couple of years ago, they did that cover of that Phil Collins song. Remember that one I used to play at the end of my show for a lot of years? I Don't Care Anymore. Somebody in his band said to Vinnie, hey, we should do a cover of that song. And Vinnie started laughing, and they were like, what, you don't like that song? He's like, no, I'm not laughing because, at the song. I'm laughing because Dimebag and I actually were going to record a version of that when we were in Damage Plan, and we actually did do some demos of it with me doing the drums and did the whole song and everything, and he did the guitar. So they were able to go back and get that and take that guitar solo and the riffs and stuff throughout the whole song, and then construct a new song with new drum riffs around it and make a brand new song that came out a couple of years ago. That Phil Collins cover by Damage Plan that Dimebag's on. It's killer. But one of those bands that doesn't license their music out to commercials. You watch over the next year, you'll start seeing Pantera music pop up in, movies, video games, commercials where you never saw it pop up before. You'll start seeing it pop up. That's what a lot of this stuff's about, folks. Not just totally about, but one of the factions of all this is eliminating all these people and gaining control of their catalogs, especially when those catalogs become in the hands of only one person in the band and stuff like that. And you've got all this stuff in the vaults, like the Prince thing. I mean, totally murdered Prince to get his catalog. And when you have somebody that's respectful towards the deceased artist controlling the catalog, that's a problem. But yeah, it sucks, man. It really. I mean, he was the last of our. I mean, we don't, like I said, we don't get too many big rock stars. I never had too many here from Dallas. We got Stevie Ray Vaughan, we got Pantera, and they're all dead now. All died before the time. We had, what's his name, too, is from here. What was that guy's name? B.W. Stevenson. He was a singer-songwriter in the 70s. He was from Dallas, too. He did that song, My Maria. And actually, I have a song of his that I licensed and used at the end of Lost Secrets of Ancient America Volume 2, the Shambhala song. At the end, that's him. He died at like 32 from some, allegedly, some being heart valve surgery or something. But, Vinnie Paul was it, man. He was the last, and he was flying the flag and representing for many years. I mentioned earlier those guys had a strip club here. One of the things that you'll read commonly, those guys just like to have a good time, and it was like their mission in life for Vinnie and Dime to make sure anybody who was ever around them always had they just went above and beyond to make sure everybody had a good time. And it almost seemed like, when you read back these stories, it almost seemed like that one of their missions in life was to give everybody that they came across their, I drank with Pantera story. And, by God, I got mine. I got mine. I sure as fuck did. I may have told the story here on the show before. I don't know. But I did, and I'm grateful for it. And, all the stuff you hear people say about them, I can attest to you 100% from my experience. It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. My one and only run-in with Dimebag and Vinnie was back in 1999. And I was actually at their strip club, the Clubhouse. Here in Texas, we have what they call the TABC, which is the Texas Alcohol Beverage Commission. That's who issues the liquor licenses for bars and stuff like that. If you're a strip club in the state of Texas, they will not issue you a liquor license for any amount of money if your bar has or if your club has all nude performers. Most strip clubs, they leave the bottoms on, they take the tops off, but the all nude ones, well, that's what the Clubhouse was, all nude. And boy, let me tell you, I can't speak for now because I haven't been there in 19 years, but back in those days, back in the Pantera heyday and stuff, in the late nights, they would go around to all the strip clubs that they would go to on tour, and they would go find whoever the top money maker was at each club, and they go, how much you making right now? How much you making a night? How would you like to move to Dallas and make 3 times that amount a night? And of course they would. So they just had, it was unbelievable. That's all I can say. Unbelievable talent. I honestly, I've never been to a strip club since that. I only ever been to strip clubs 2 or 3 times. And I never really thought, when I went to there, I never really dreamed in a million years. I'm sure there were probably people who went there all the time hoping to run into those guys, but there's plenty of people that own businesses, but they never go to them, So I really never gave it 2 thoughts. And the only reason I went to the strip club in the first place, I had this friend that I worked with at the time. She, I was roommates with her for a while, and she was, she had a couple of kids. She was divorced, and she was bisexual. She was into dudes and chicks. So women can't get into strip clubs without being accompanied by a man, right? So she would want to. So she made this deal with me. She would be like, "Okay, you go to the strip club with me, so I can mac on chicks, and I'll use my feminine wiles to get you hooked up with shit, while you're there, dances, drinks, whatever." So the Clubhouse was BYOB because it was all nude. They didn't sell alcohol, so you bring your own, which is much better anyway. Because then you don't have to pay their fucking high ass prices. You just buy the setups, like the mixers and stuff from them, glasses, whatever. But you could go and load up, at the liquor store and just come in and you get a lot more bang for your buck. Your dollar goes a lot farther. You're not having to pay $10 for a fucking long neck Coors Light or something. You can just haul in a fucking cooler or whatever. So I had this big bottle of Jägermeister with me, and I had about half of it finished. And my friend, she was off, doing her thing or whatever, and it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, but they stayed open all night because they could stay open because they didn't serve liquor, right? So it didn't occur to me till later. I'm like, you know what? That was probably those fucking Pantera dudes. That was probably their whole MO. They'd go drink till the bars closed, and if they ran out of liquor at home, or didn't get to the liquor store in time when it closed, well, hell, we own a strip club that stays open all night. It's BYOB. There's probably some fans up there. We'll just go to our strip club at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. We want to party and drink some more. And they'll probably be fans. We know them and have liquor, and they'll drink with us. Well, I'm about to walk out I'm walking out the front door. I'm already pretty drunk, I got about half a bottle. It was been iced down too, so it was ice cold. About half a bottle of Jaeger left, a big bottle. I'm walking out the fucking front door of the clubhouse. As I'm walking out, who's walking in? Fucking Vinnie, Paul, and Dimebag Daryl. And I played it cool. I was not actually going to say anything to him. I was just going to walk on by and keep going. Oh, no. Oh, no. Not in their house. Not in their house. Those boys were not having that. They saw me walking out that front door, man, and they probably saw my tattoos too, so they knew what was up. I was walking out the door, and they see me, man. I couldn't help it. I just got a big smile on my face, and so immediately they're, "What's up, man? What's going on? Woo!" How you doing, man? You have a good time tonight? Hell yeah, and slapped me 5 and shit. And I saw Dimebag's face. I saw his eyes, man. His eyes got big. He looked down and he saw it, I was there holding a fucking half a bottle of Jägermeister. That was one of his favorites. Black Tooth Grins, which is a shot of Crown, a little bit of Coke at the top, Coors Light, and Jägermeister. That was their shit. So, they're high-fiving me or whatever, and Dimebag's like, "Hey, you leaving, man?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, I've been here for 3 hours, whatever, He's like, "Well, shit, man, let's polish it off real quick." Talking about my boss, like, "Shit, let's go polish it off real quick." So I'm like, all right. So they take me in and they fucking take me to their private fucking velvet roped off table. Brought me over their fucking table with them. Got the waitress to bring us some clean shot glasses, and we sat there for 30 minutes, proceeded to just fucking tear down this Jaeger bottle. I just couldn't even believe it. I never expected it to happen, and I never even thought it would. I just, and I wasn't even going to let it happen. I was going to walk right past. No, they weren't having that. They saw me with that bottle. They're, "No, motherfucker. No, you're ours. You better come over to our fucking private table right now." And, it was great. It was loud music. And, just the most unbelievable women you've ever seen in your life in this place. These were not your normal strip club hoes, I got to tell you. I couldn't even believe that they could get women that were as attractive as they had in this place to take their clothes off. Really, seriously, these are not the kind of women you would normally see stripping, man. These were 10s. Seriously, 9s and 10s. There were no 8s in that place. No 8s in that place. Not an 8 among them, dude. I'm not exaggerating, not an 8 in the place. Everything in that place was 9s or 10s. I've never seen to this day, ever seen anything like it before or since. So we're drinking down the shots and everything, partying down, and I'll never forget it, man. Dimebag leans over to me and goes, "Pick you one out, son." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Pick you one out. Whatever one you want. Pick them. Get her. I got you." And, lap dances were I think they were $20 or something back then, right? And I see one, she was just unbelievable looking, So I was like, "Yeah, how about her?" And Doug goes, "Oh, you want her?" He does. I can't do the whistling thing, but that fucking loud, annoying whistling thing people can do. It's fucking breaks your ears, drums it so loud. That's what he did. And so half the place looks over and he points at the chick and says, "You." She walks over and he's like, "Here, take care of my buddy here. Give him a dance." And he gave her $100 bill, dude, straight up. Just peeled one off. And, I got my little lap dance and high-fived the guys, and they sent me on my way. And that was it. And then like what, 4 years later, I heard that he got shot and killed. But that's the thing. I've been, everybody had any kind of running with them. That you just see this story over and over again, just how generous they were, and they really were, and they never forgot where they came from, and always represented Dallas and stuff like that, and it's just unbelievable. And unbelievable that this happened again while I'm working on this film. I've already had that part in there. All this stuff, this generational MK Ultra thing I've uncovered that's in the music industry, and how it's still, it's still happening. It's just I'm at a loss for words. I just hope I can do the information and do the people who've been victims of that. I just hope I can do the justice that they deserve with these films. I'm really doing my best, and I think it is going to be fantastic. It's just beyond me, man. I can't lie about it. I mean, this is bigger and scarier than anything I ever planned on, and it confirms all these other things that I didn't even think were true for a while. That's the other thing that's about this, man. It's confirmed all this other stuff I thought was kind of bullshit, That's the other fucked up thing. Let me tell you another thing. Dave Grohl, I'm coming for you. Your ass ain't fucking innocent. If you've all thought that Dave Grohl's been Mr. Innocent and all this stuff all these years and all this stuff with Kurt Cobain, let me tell you something. You're wrong. So I'll be showing the connections to his ass too, and exposing him in this movie too. Man. And Alex Jones is fucking openly promoting Rex 84. Remember Rex 84, the whole internment camp thing, the Reagan and Ollie North, that whole thing, yeah. Oh, don't believe me? Look it up. He's got the Health Ranger Mike Adams using his MK Ultra programming, fucking neuro-linguistic programming talk on there too. It's unbelievable. But like I said, I feel sorry for Jones now too. He was born into this and mind controlled from the very beginning of all this, and his children are now too. It's fucking sad, man. More than anything else, I'm not even pissed off or mad at these people anymore. I'm not. I feel sorry for them. I have empathy for them. This stuff is so sinister that you've got people who are being patsied generationally. Are they involved in this stuff? Yes, but not against their will. They're programmed, man. They're made into robotic slaves. Going back, like I said, I was a big Nirvana fan. I haven't listened to Nirvana's music in so many years, and during the course of making this movie, I went back and listened to their music again, and in light of knowing this information now, my God, folks. Oh, my God. Oh. I mean, my heart just sank. Every album. I'm talking about even Bleach, before they were on a major label. Every single, especially Nevermind. Oh my God. Nevermind is probably the single biggest MK Ultra album ever made. My God, folks. When you go back and listen to Nirvana and listen to the lyrics now, every song is clearly from a guy who was under massive, massive mind control. And when you listen to the last album, In Utero, and you read the lyrics in that, you start to see, my God, these are the lyrics of somebody who's gone through it, who's now come out of it. It's wild. If you watch, there's tons of them on YouTube. If you watch some of the Nirvana live shows, specifically from like 91 to like early 93, some of these shows are terrible. And Kurt Cobain is clearly under mind control. You can just tell that he is. He's not just on drugs. He's under mind control. The performances are terrible. He comes out of it, right around about 93 when they do the In Utero thing. There's a show, the next to the last show they ever did before that Rome show where he supposedly overdosed, which of course he wasn't. He didn't overdose. He was fucking they spiked his champagne with rohypnol. That's why they tried to off him there. That was the first try. They weren't successful. They, of course, had to do were successful the second time, as we all know. But there's a performance, I forget where it's at. It's on YouTube. It's like the whole show. It's the next to the last show they ever played in 1994. And they sound incredible. I told you I saw them on that tour too in Dallas, and they were incredible. That final tour, the In Utero tour, Nirvana sounded better than they ever sounded in their whole careers on that last tour. But, man, I was in tears listening to those songs, like Nevermind, especially. Jesus Christ. It's like you don't know it. You can't tell that it's that when you don't know anything about this stuff and you don't have any information. And then when you find out about it and you listen to it with a new perspective, it's unbelievable, folks. It is the lyrics of an MK Ultra victim. He was telling us in all the lyrics, and probably didn't even know he was telling anybody. I mean, it's just insane to listen to. What everyone just wrote off as sort of, artistic, incoherent babble, just connecting words and using different words that really don't mean anything. It can seem that way from one perspective, but once you start figuring it out, it's just unbelievable. So my viewpoint on this stuff, man, it's really changed, and it's shown me how more important it is, and that all of this stuff that we think is all disconnected, the mind control cults, the sex slave cults, Scientology, MK Ultra, this stuff is all these, famous musician deaths, it's all connected, folks. And I'm doing my best to give you my little slice. I mean, I can't cover it all, even with a million films, but, I feel like with this film series, I really am doing something. No one's put together what I put together. They just flat haven't. Nobody has. And I'm just trying to survive and keep myself alive long enough to get this done. So I hope to have Volume 2 out for you in the next 2 weeks. And then Volume 3 out for you in another 2-3 weeks after that. And I'm fighting this health stuff off, and I'm I want to thank everybody out there. I know I haven't given you shows this month. I just hadn't been able to do it. If my health would have been better, I would have given you more shows. But like I said, right now I got to get back to work here, and God, I'm turning 42 in another couple of weeks too. Jesus Christ. Anyway, I got to get back to work on this and keep taking care of my health. Thank you to everybody who has we went almost the whole month out in contributions, and then we got some in. Everybody who was contributing this month, just thank you to everybody. Please continue to support my work, spread the word, hit the download shop, get some downloads. If you haven't seen Spellcaster Volume 1 and 1.5 and heard the Covert War on Rock audiobook, definitely listen to those before Volume 2, and then Volume 3 will come out. What else? I guess that's it. I'll try to come back and check in and do as much more as I can for you this week. I'm not promising. I'll try to get at least 2 more shows for you in this week if I can. Health permitting, time permitting, and all that. And we've got to have our operating costs budget fulfilled by Sunday. So be sure to hit the links there. You can find it on all our social media pages as well. The Goal Reality Facebook page, Josh Reeves Filmmaker, Talk to Host Explorer, and I'll definitely try and do a Saturday night, Midnight in Texas show for you too this week if you can. I've been on hiatus from everything, from the health issues and working on the film and stuff. So I definitely will. The show airs on Saturday nights at midnight Central Standard Time. Probably for a little while before that. You might want to tune in 30, 45 minutes earlier that night, Saturday night too, because I'm going to be doing a special tribute to Vinnie Paul and Dimebag and Pantera that night before the show, the broadcast too. I love you guys. What a fucking piece of work this is. It's just, I can't even put it into words. This is bigger and more insane than I ever even fucking counted on it being. And there's so many people connected that most people would have never have thought. You're going to say that when you see it. I never would have thought that person's connected. Well, they are. All right, folks. I don't have anything else to say. Please help us reach our goal by Sunday. All right. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Take care.